Welcome, welcome to the fucked up intro. welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. This is episode 78. Tyranny requires constant effort. And that's right, folks. Tonight we are going to be breaking down the Hot Shots and Aces pack number 2. But we're not going to break down the points because we did that on Wednesday because JJ and I were gluttons for punishment and stayed up late Wednesday night instead of making pie and decided to give you a taste of the points in our opinions and rankings on them. Now, if you would like to go back, yes, it is wine, Greg. If you would like to go back and actually watch last Wednesday's episode, we did go ahead and break all of the points down, and JJ and I ranked every one of the pilots. So we are not going to do that tonight. That was our Wednesday show. You're welcome to go ahead and watch that before you watch this if you would like. But we feel list building is going to be the primary source of discussion tonight. We enlisted people to submit some lists, plus JJ had 17 million of his own. And they decided that they wanted to share some with you. And then I have a few, mostly droids, but I did have a couple of really cool scum ones that I had been looking at and playing around with as well. Either which way, that's kind of how we're going to be running it. We also got our hands on some images for Siege of Coruscant. So if the lists don't take 2 hours to get through, we plan on spoiling some lists or some Siege of Coruscant and all of the directions and everything for like an Academy 101 type segment. With that being said, let's bring in my co-host for tonight, Mr. JJ, wearing his Catan and losing to his wife tonight. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing all right, man. Just excited to list build, and man, like once the pack was released, man, I went out to a bunch of stores in my local area. They're all gone, sold out like immediately. There was some drama with one of the local shops closing, but yeah, we'll talk about that at a different time. But man, I still don't have that pack. But there was a lot of great X-Wing sales around my area. Thankfully, I was able to pick up a clone Z95 for like $20, which was fantastic. But yeah, it was definitely great. Got a lot of shopping done this week.
Yeah, and that's good to hear that you had a good Thanksgiving. You had did you have Thanksgiving at your relative's house or where you're staying at this week, or did you have to travel?
Yeah, I had it at my parents' house, which is about like a half an hour drive for me, so it wasn't too bad. We had a great time over there. We played a ton of games. We played Viticulture. We played Splendor with the expansion, and then we also played Ticket to Ride, which is another great game. Those are some of the staples that we have in my house here. But yeah, it was a fantastic Thanksgiving. Had a ton of fun.
Yeah, so my Wednesday before we casted consisted of playing Arkham Horror, the new campaign. We got through 2 sessions. My 12-year-old, she joined us. You can tell towards the end she was getting a little bored. We played the second scenario incorrectly. If you go back and watch Wednesday, I kind of go into detail a little bit about how we effed it up. But just as an FYI, if you're playing the new Arkham Horror and you're into the second scenario, read the directions really, really well, because you'll otherwise have a 2.5 hour session, and that was not super fun. I'll just put it that way. Then we had Thanksgiving, right? And my son and I played a little Marvel Champions. We got the pies and everything ready, and then we went over to my parents' house. And then Friday, my brother stopped by after he did his Black Friday shopping at the board game store, and I bought the new Nemesis Lockdown game.
Yeah, I saw that on sale. I almost picked it up too, man. Oh,
yep. It's really hard, and I do not want to play with the same 12-year-old again, because so we tried. She'd never played before, and we tried to explain to her this is a really hard game. You're going to get frustrated. Just, don't get discouraged. She decided to complete her side objective, which accelerated. Like, we had 4 turns left, and we're like all sitting there like, honey, you're supposed to like work with us. She's like, well, you told me I needed to do my objective and I did it. And I was like, I you're right. And then at the end, my brother got stuck in an escape pod that wasn't going to launch. And so he just lost. My other son somehow made it into his escape pod, right? So it's just me and my daughter left, and the queen gets spawned. And so this stupid queen alien is like attacking us, and she's running, and I'm running to try to get to my objective, and I get infected with a effing larva, right? And if you know the game, there's one card in that damn deck, and when that card gets revealed, if you have a larva in your chest, you just die. You just die. There's a second event card that you can pull, and if you pull this event card, it makes you check every one of your contamination cards. And I did the contamination card, and I was infected, and I had a larva, and I just died. But my daughter was arguing with me. She's like, you can't complete your objectives, but I can, Dad. So you need to die just for me. Just die for me. And then she got her damn wish. And then the then all of a sudden an adult spawned and then like struck her really hard. And then she went to move, and a second adult spawned and killed her. And she was so pissed. She was so pissed she didn't get to leave. She was one turn away from leaving if the adults hadn't spawned. But that's what you get, right? That's what you get when you screw Dad over.
Yes.
They also had a new King of Tokyo co-op version that my son bought. And
what's the name of it? I played that a lot. I play the King of New York more than King of Tokyo, but yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up for you. I don't remember the name. It's like King of the Monsters or something like that. Something with monsters, and it's like a big box.
Okay, yeah, I've seen it. Okay, yeah.
And it's essentially the exact same thing, except for you're fighting against like not an AI, but it's essentially you're fighting against, you know, the computer, I guess. Right?
Yeah, the system.
The system. There you go. And that was actually pretty fun. That took forever to play too, because we kept playing that piece incorrectly. And like the first round or the first game through, like that we played, it went super fast because we played it incorrectly, and like the monster just destroyed us like off the board. The second game we played right after that decided to we played even longer, and it took forever for everything to spawn. Love you too. And that's a 12-year-old that was pissed off.
Oh, poor thing.
But yeah, so the second game took a long time too, but we finally figured out how to play it. But all these little minion things spawn, and if you don't move, we figured out if you don't move around and actually take care of them, then it builds up. And it's crazy. But that was actually really fun. That was really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of what our weekend was. We also watched Thanksgiving. Thank you, folks who don't like that movie. That's my favorite Thanksgiving movie. And I will say, yes, it's a little dated. Definitely a little bit dated, but I don't know. It's so poorly made. I think everybody should have to watch it. I actually was tempted to see if we could get away with streaming it on our stream and doing like a commentary over the top of it with no sound. But I think the M rating would probably kill us.
Yeah.
For it. So anyway, so hopefully everybody had a good holiday and some good time off. Yes, I am drinking wine tonight. I don't know why. I do still have whiskey upstairs, but I thought a glass of wine sounded good. It just kind of did. So you'll have to put up with me. I don't know. Maybe I'll get wine drunk tonight and we'll talk lists, and JJ can make fun of me because I'm very slap happy when I'm wine drunk. So
yeah, I mean, it's better than that. And you drink whiskey and then you go into a rage about, Ninam or, Torkel.
Yeah. Which of the new pilots? There you go. Let's put a vote up. Which of the new pilots is Tanner going to rage on tonight?
Ooh. Tyranny. Although I don't think Tyranny's not that bad, but we'll get to that once we cross into the FO gap there.
Yeah, the FO gap there. Trick question. Greg says Torkel. Yep. You know what? If somebody submitted a list with Torkel in it, we will have a conversation about that when we get to it. All right.
Adding list now. All
Stop.
right.
You better stop it.
I mean, what better way to make Hondo effective than to Torko Mux somebody into Initiative 0 so Hondo shoots
So Hondo can
first?
shoot him. That's actually kind of dirty. I still don't think it's good. I don't think it's good. So we're gonna do announcement real quick first. Thursday, they officially announced the days for the qualifier. So Thursday is the last chance qualifier for every one of the games that AMG has, unfortunately. I'm a little sad it's Thursday and not Wednesday and Thursday because I was going to go in a day early, play in the Armada one, and then play in the X-Wing one the next day. That's what I really wanted to do. Just that way I had an opportunity. Maybe I'd make it in both, and then I'd have to pick, and maybe I would make it in one and get to play in both. So I don't know. So I thought that would be fun, but I don't think we're going to get to do that. Then they're going to have the World Championships. They're going to have 2 days of events, and then they'll have the finals on Sunday. So if you feel you're going to have a good chance of making finals, I'm guessing this is going to be a top 32 that or the X and 1 cut again will depend on how many people get in. They haven't told us how many last chancers are going to get in. In the past, they've done 50%. So, if let's say we have 100 people that show up, that's 50 people to get added to the 70 Worlds invites, and I believe that puts us at a top 32 between the 2 days. But we will see. So I was a little excited by that. Did you have JJ? Did you make plans to come in yet?
Yes. Yes, I am going. When, or rather, how I'm going, I'm still working out right now. But yeah, I will definitely be there for the last chance qualifier event over there. I'm definitely excited to try out Shatterpoint. That's definitely going to be um, what's going to make my decision on whether or not I'm actually going to get into Shatterpoint over there. As much as I love Armada, I unfortunately left the majority of my collection, or actually all of my collection, over in Orlando with my brother over there. So I do have quote unquote space for a second minis game, and I'm on the hunt right now. I gotta say, I saw the core sets for Legion, for the Republic, and for CIS at 50% off at my local. And I was like, oh man, if I freaking get into this right now, I'm not even going to touch Shatterpoint. But luckily, I resisted temptation. I almost did it.
Yeah, and I think I think you have to hold out at least until then. I guess if you bought it for the 50% off, you could always sell it at what you paid for it, and somebody would buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
I did the same thing. They didn't have it 50% off. It was like 40-ish% off at my local. And they did bring in extra Legion sets, and I was hit up 3 times by our guy to say, "Hey, would you like to buy into Legion? You've been talking about it." And I said, I'm going to hold for now because I really want to see what the Shatterpoint has. And if it's a quicker game and an easier game to get into, even if it's just a for fun thing, I think I'm going to do that. So,
yeah, definitely.
All right. So the first thing we want to talk about before we get into list is there is some errors in the Hot Shots and Aces pack. The first one is the initiative on the holdouts. They have it on the cardboard as a 1 and it's a 2. I don't think that's the end of the world. I think I'm just going to paint little 2s over mine. I don't know what else to do, right? But like I think you could fill that square in black and then just put the color 2 in there, or 2 stickers, and just
Yeah.
call it a day. I think that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, the only thing that I kind of wish that they would have done by now, at least, since it's been I mean, I guess it's over the holiday, so they haven't had time to actually go in and do it, is at least update the errata list on the website, so that way people wanting to use this immediately, they know which initiatives to treat it at. One and two is not really much of a difference in general, but at least it kind of matters when you're activating droids. Like if you're running some of the I1s with I2s, if you're wanting to move them before the other, it kind of does make a difference at that point. But beyond that, yeah, this is unfortunately a recurring problem that we've been seeing from AMG for some of these latest releases, just having these quality control issues, and just not getting them right.
Yeah, I think the question becomes, JJ, is did FFG have similar errors before? Like they had been doing it a lot longer. Um, and in Destiny, when we had Destiny, we didn't have that many, at least when I had joined from FFG, but I didn't play X-Wing until after I played Destiny. So you've been playing for a lot longer. Do they have a lot of production issues and stuff like that?
It would be like one out of like it'll be like maybe one item out of like every few packs, and it wasn't really big things. Like it would be sometimes that some of the packs, and it wasn't like every single pack. It would be some packs were just misprinted where the arcs would like have like a twisted arc, and it was more like of a quality control standpoint from when they were printed, not something that was like done intentionally, like a misprint on a card. Um, but usually, you would reach out to FFG and they would just like send you a new cardboard or something like that. AMG doesn't really have that. But this is becoming more and more of a problem that we've seen so far with the last releases.
Yeah. The next issue is the Hondo cardboard, and I will 100% recommend you people do not um use that Hondo cardboard in professional things. You can see right there at that tip. I think it's on its own page, right? So maybe we blow it up a little bit. Yeah, you can see right here at the very edge, it goes past the end. So your arc is actually technically a bit bigger. Personally, I don't think it's the end of the world. But I will tell you 100% that should not be allowed at tournaments at all.
Yeah, it is going to be up to the TO whether or not they're going to allow that, because obviously that's gonna mess up a lot of a lot of range calls and stuff. This does make Afra, rather Arsing, a lot better, especially that front arc being way wider, and Hondo too having a way bigger arc in the front than all the other fire sprays. So if you have them and your TO allows them, good luck. You're always gonna have a shot.
I don't think Aura Sings is off though. It's
Uh,
only Hondo's. See,
Maybe it's just the angle that I'm looking at.
it's
But
just
yeah,
the
no,
angle.
Hondo's definitely off.
Yeah,
Hondo's
Hondo is definitely off. Aurora is not off. So,
yeah, I can see it.
all right, let's get into some list building. Enough of that shenanigans. So we enlisted other people to submit lists. I see JJ picked himself for the number 2 list, like he always does. Um, and for some reason he thought it'd be fun to use Pops Carell. I don't know why, but that's his new favorite ship that he's going to take over Jake. But let's start with the first list that Let the Lookie win submitted. We have a rebel list with Keo with crack shot and concussion missiles. Arvel Arvel with crack shot and predator. Then Tycho with elusive ion cannon, daredevil, and cluster missiles, just so he can say, which do you want to fight me with? Ahsoka Tano in an A-wing with shatter shot, concussion, and trick shot. And then Hera in an A-wing with predator, crack shot, prockets, and munitions failsafe. So I think that's pretty good. I like that list. It's a 5 A-wing list. There's no Nabi here to cheer us on for this. But I really do think there is something to this. The only thing that would bother me, I think, about this would be the initiatives, because they're not all the same. And I would probably F that up more than one time. but I do think the synergy, there's a lot of synergy here, especially with Ahsoka being able to coordinate and give actions to either Tycho or to Keo. Because if you think about it, Keo's going to have that force on that first shot, and then be able to do the side slip the next shot or the next round, and keep time on target like crazy. So if you
Yeah.
have a concussion missile, you have to use your lock, and then you can side slip around that ship's probably coming in front of you. And what's going to do is you're going to force that other ship to like try to go forward and get into um Q's arc so that you can't shoot the concussion missiles at it. So I think that's a really, really smart maneuver here. And like I said, I think the Ahsoka Tano ability to coordinate, which you could just also coordinate Hera, and then Hera's double modded, passes her stuff off. Hera can use a target lock first, then pass the focus off. All sorts of different crazy things can happen with that.
Yeah, definitely. I like that a lot, especially since you have in the list two, actually four of the ships with matching initiatives for the two pairs of two, with Arvo and Keo being initiative three, being able to have low initiative enough to start like causing bumps and grabbing objective points early. And then the initiative fives, Ahsoka and Tycho, being able to react to the positioning of where all those other ships are, and then Hera just being that piece, just providing all those tokens to everybody else in the list there. Definitely a lot of synergy. The munitions on these A-wings definitely give it some teeth to eliminate some ships, and it's a great list. I like this a lot. The only thing that this list would suffer on would probably be salvage, because it takes away all the focus boost shenanigans that they can do. But beyond that, I mean, in those objectives, then they're probably just gunning down the cargo carriers, and they have the munitions to do it. So, I mean, it's definitely a great list. I definitely would like to see this on the table.
So, what do you think about putting sensitive controls on it, or whatever the configuration is?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, about sensitive controls, and specifically on Keo. I think that would be really, really good. But at the same time, I think that it would probably benefit the list not to have it, and just to have the. I think that the lower your initiative, the more lower initiative you have for the A-wings, the better sensitive control is. And then when you have higher initiative, you want to react later after you see everything that's happened on the board. There is an argument to also have them on there, but I think for Hera and Ahsoka, you probably get a better uh, you get more information towards the end, which makes them more effective in being able to reposition at their initiatives there. But yeah, I mean, it is a solid option. It just kind of limits how you interact a little bit in Keo, especially because you have to increase your side slip when you perform it. So if you stress yourself with sensitive controls, you can't clear it if you do a side slip. So that's kind of the drawback to that.
Yep. And it's also different not seeing Ahsoka with an extreme maneuvers upgrade. A lot of
Yeah,
people have been running that. I do see why you wouldn't want to do that as much personally, just because it can be not so great. But we've been playing around with the A-Wings and Resistance a little bit,
hmm
and putting trick shot has actually been a lot more beneficial with these maneuverable ships than you can imagine. And that's the only reason I say, hey, look at what about sensitive controls, right? Because if that's the case, you have the ability to go right up to a rock and then get the protection, get your trick shot off, and then barrel roll out of there.
yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah. All right, so the next list that we have here for the rebellion, this is a list that I kind of want to like make a little bit of synergy with all these different these initiative four pilots that the rebellion has. So we have Pops Krail at initiative 2 that has hopeful ion cannon turret, homing torpedoes, homing missiles, and then we have Edrio 2 tubes, also at Initiative 2 with proton rockets, deadband switch, and the foils. Then we have both Garvin and Garvin Drays from the Battle of Yavin that has events proton torpedoes and R5K6, which is the regen droid, and then Dutch with hopeful ion cannon turret, R3 astromech, and Boblin generator, and then Fen Rao in the shuttle with hopeful Jin Ursul and R4 astromech. The reason I built this particular list here is that I think that Edrio and Pops are two ships in the rebellion that actually want to go together. Pops at Initiative 2 is able to move, and he's actually one of the few Y-Wings that does
Initiative
not.
3.
Initiative 3?
Yep.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, man. All right, so I totally misread that.
That's okay.
That my list just falls apart right there, damn it. Oh yeah, it is Initiative 3. Wow, I totally misread that. But yeah, in any case, Pop's Grail being able to give out those focuses to either Dutch or Edrio, whoever needs it, and then Fenrau carrying Jin Urso being able to give change that focus into an evade token to either one of these ships on the list, being able to get double modded shots on either Edrio with a Procket or Garvin Drays with the APTs gives a lot of power for these ships to go in. Pops, I gave him both homing and torpedoes and missiles, so that way he has that automatic damage at any initiative in the front, and then of course ion cannon turret out the side, just being that control piece and being able to actually be a really effective anti-salvage carrier in for this list, and the rest of the list just can share all those different tokens on there. I've had the opportunity to actually test a version of this list, and Edrio being able to get off the Prockets at Initiative 2 can actually delete ships. It's pretty good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think do you think that 2 tubes with Prockets gets it off, though? Like, would
Yeah.
it be better to have, I don't know, a different type of missile on there?
So yeah, you can definitely go with a different type of missile, or heck, you can even go with a different type of illicit if you're going to go with a lower initiative or a lower cost of missile rather on Edrio. I've had about 3 games with Edrio, and all 3 games I've had the Prockets go off. It does depend on target priority at that point. In the list that I've flown against, 2 of them had medium base ships, and one of them had large base ships, which those are fairly easy to get the proton rockets off onto them. The first game I had, I just happened to have the other ship bump one of my other friendlies and had Edrio lined up for the bullseye. So I was able to get that off fairly good. Um, it is possible. It does take a little bit of maneuvering to get it off regularly, but it definitely is possible.
All right. I like it. It's a different take, and it's a take we have that says, hey, I don't have Luke in here,
Mm-hmm.
right? No Luke, nothing.
No
Kind of
Wedge,
crazy.
no Luke. Don't need any of that.
All right. You also submitted a Seventh Sister Empire list. You want to take your 4-ship?
Yeah, so
It's
Second
we
Sister.
call it your Inquisitor Nightmare ship.
Yeah. So this one here, I wanted to kind of keep it a little thematic. I wasn't able to fully fill it out the way I wanted to because of points, but here I have Second Sister with Hate, Predator, and Shield upgrade in the TIE Interceptor. Then we have Seventh Sister in the TIE V1 with Brilliant Evasion, Elusive, Juke, and Fire Control System. And then Fifth Brother with Brilliant Evasion, Elusive, Fire Control System, and HLC. And then to round off the list, Major Vermeil and the TIE Reaper with Ion Limiter Override and Darth Vader to finish off that particular list. This list can really move, get around, double reposition as it needs, and they're very tough to pin down, and they can hit pretty good. The one thing I really wanted to do with Vermeil is have Captain Hark with Ion Limiter Override, because you're able to do the full stop with Vermeil, or do the sloop, and then use the Ion Limiter Override to do a barrel roll with Vermeil to get him into position where you need to, and then use Hark's ability as a crew to take a focus. This one here, I felt that because I was having force across the board, Darth Vader made sense. I wanted to put Palp on here, but then I didn't have like any other upgrades that I could really put with him that made sense for Vermeil. But with Vader, it actually works well with Vermeil. You're either doing damage to that ship with Vader or removing a token, which then turns on Vermeil's ability to automatically get a hit result when he's rolling dice on that ship. And then that opens the way for Seven Sister to juke. Same thing with Second Sister to put in crits, and same thing with Fifth Brother to put in crits on that ship that has no tokens. Really, really nasty. Really good.
All right. I also had a Empire list. I have a couple of them.
Mm.
The first one that I had also involves Seventh Sister, but it's more of a juke version. And the reason I say we use a juke is because you have the native force, two of them, that you can use for mods, for offense. Juke is very good. I do not 100% like it on her all the time, but I do genuinely like it overall. And I think in this list, the reason I put it on there is specifically to force me as an individual player to take an evade, right? Because otherwise you natively take it a focus, you're always taking a focus, but you can use your force both ways. And so the idea is this forces me to take that evade it tactic, right? And makes it so that I'm not looking to try to out um outmaneuver every single person. I take the shield upgrade obviously because they just pop.
Yeah.
I really kind of wish some of these standard pilots would have came in with an extra shield upgrade on them just because of who they are. But I understand once you start changing that dynamic, it makes it a little bit harder. So they gave us enough points. So I put the shield upgrade and I put Juke on there and not opting for a force talent. I see the force talent as kind of a dead talent spot, right? I mean, you put extreme maneuvers in there, but you're just never going to use her ability then. Um, so that's why I went and avoided it. I then threw three academies and Moff Gideon together, in an effort to give Moff Gideon somebody to ruthless, give Moff Gideon somebody to essentially use the strains for.
Mm-hmm.
And the I1s, now that none of them have, now that they don't have loadout, you don't need to take an I3 anymore unless you want that. So since I already have a mixed initiatives list, I saw it pointless to take the I3s and just said, screw it, I'm going to take I1s, use them as blockers. They're going to always be able to get whatever action they want to some extent, and they're going to go in there and gum up the works. And then, of course, I have Boy Vader in there, who I have put on the table and have found I like 7-point Vader better. But if to get Second Sister in an Interceptor, I had to do that. So the Moff Gideon Magpulse could be different. I don't know, JJ. I don't run Moff Gideon a lot. I've had Moff Gideon ran against me with cluster missiles, which I had thought about doing, but I just wonder if Ruth or Magpulse is worth it, because of the matching initiatives and lower.
I think it's definitely a good call for Moff Gideon for that, mainly because this provides you a crit dealer in your list, being able to counter Agent Tyranny, which we're probably going to see a lot in, especially if they choose Moff Gideon as the target here. That's the only one that really wants friendlies to do like its ability. That would definitely be a target for Agent Tyranny. And the other part of it is that it also gives out the Pleat and Jam, which will help your Academy pilots survive a little bit longer if they're getting shot by that particular ship there. So Magpulse is definitely the way to go. Cluster missiles is probably the more aggressive version of it, but it's less likely you're going to get multiple shots in on the regular with clusters than you are with Magpulse.
Yep. And I felt I felt that you could change the Magpulse to clusters, and you could change your FTC to whatever the 3 calculates card is. The
You
over.
I I will say that I would have actually dropped Ruthless for the targeting computer, because I don't believe Moth has the
Oh
target lock.
shit, you're right. All right, then
Yeah.
actually, then I would just drop down to dead man switch and throw the
Okay.
targeting computer on there.
Okay.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's my bad. I completely forgot these things don't have target lock.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
just dumb. Who give? Let's unleash the TIE fighters and give back
I mean,
some.
they could maybe down the line make the TIE Outlander configuration card for the TIE fighters, so that way they can natively have a lock. That would be kind of cool, and maybe give it a different ability.
All right, so the next list is very similar, so we aren't going to spend a lot of time on it. What I did is I subbed out 2 academies for Vizier with Pelp. And this one I did put the cluster missiles on, right? Because then it like again, now I need a little bit more offense because I'm missing 2 ships. Chances are the Reaper is not going to always do a lot of damage if you're looking to keep the Reaper alive and force the chase with the Reaper. Um, so I did switch out to the cluster missiles, and again, obviously overtune modulators is what I was going to go with. And here, you're right. Here is where you would drop Ruthless and just go to the targeting computer.
Yeah.
And I did put 1 Academy Ace in there, Black Squadron, over the I1, and I only did that just to keep it at to keep it closer to Gideon, to make it more right his speed, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, on to Scum. Crispy submitted a Scum list. JJ, we want to take that one?
Yeah, so Crispy submitted a list here. First up, we have Hondo Naka, the new fire spray pilot that we have for Scum, with Jamming Beam, Lando Calrissian, Connor Nets, Deadman Switch, Contraband Cybernetics, Delayed Fuses, Marauder, and the Veteran Tail Gunner upgrade. Then we have the Mandalorian in the SC-70 assault ship with Predator, Juke, Fenralph, the Child's Greedo, and the Razor Crest title. Gamut Key with Grief Karga, Deadman Switch, and then Lapin, the new the TIE fighter pilot there, with March Stable Closure and Ion Cannon to round off the list. Definitely like the control that Crispy has on this list here, both with the Ion Cannon on the TIE fighter and then counter nets with Hondo on there as well. You're able to pretty much control where your opponent ship is going to go, and that actually helps out Hondo a lot because you can actually trigger Hondo's ability and choose the ship that's ioned, and that way they can only take the focus action, while your ship is able to choose any of the Hondo actions on there, and then Hondo gets to calculate on top of that. So that's actually a really, really great way to help trigger Hondo's ability. The other part of it too is just having the Mandalorian having the option to equip either false transponder codes or to modulators on here to have those extra mods that he needs on here. He can easily just take Juke and then have all those calculates if he needs to, and then Fenrau being able to remove the stress from a lot of ships that are in the arc. It's a really solid list. And then Grief Karga also being able to get around that Agent Tyranny condition, since you're able to coordinate allied ships instead of friendly ships as well. So.
Yep, and it costs the same, right? So it's the same cost. Mm-hmm. It's really not that big a deal. I would say the Elusive. I've seen Elusive being ran on Gamut Key, and I kind of wonder if that would be a little bit better. I understand the Dead Man switches because most people just want to go kill Gamut, right? Everybody hates him, and if you get to the point where he's down to 1 or 2 health, you just ram him in there and say, "Fine, blow up. I'm going to blow up and hurt you." So still not a bad option. I have seen this list in action. So, and there's another person that has seen this list in action. I don't know if he's still in our chat or not, but he got to see this firsthand. So I will say this is a little bit different build with Mando. So this is a big setup build and then a huge churn 1. And then after your turn 1, then it kind of starts to you get to start going your own way. Mando does other things. Obviously, the illicit, you have no idea what they're going to take, right?
Hmm.
And I think at this point, with Notorious being 5 points, giving Juke on there is the better option, right? Because Juke says, I'm going to take that evade. Gambit's going to make me hold the evade, hold all of these things. And I saw the overtune modulators. So this Mando had 4 fucking tokens on him. 4 tokens. Just
Hmm.
crazy. Um,
Yeah,
so
and it's really good too because I mean you can also put in contraband cybernetics, and you can do a full stop, do a barrel roll into evade, and you have you can pretty much outmaneuver your opponent that way, and still have juke, and then the over two modulator calculates, and then still have force with the child if you need to. Oh, and then Fenrau to help you clear the stress later.
yeah.
I mean, so good.
Yeah, and we've been you and I've been using Fenral for quite a while,
Yeah.
and in different builds. And I've again, if you have more than one spot on your ship, I have found that it works very, very, very well.
Yeah.
All right, Qual 3 submitted a list, scum list here.
Yeah, and we have Lima Kai in the Y wing here, with Tirfon Belly Run, with Pattern Analyzer, Ion Cannon Turret, and Magpulse Warheads. Dirge, the new Rogue class starfighter pilot from this new pack, with Marksmanship, Cutthroat, Proton Cannons, and FTC. Sarisu with Cutthroat, Burnout Thrusters, and Tractor Beam. Tupusk in the Hawk with Elusive, Grief Karga, and Deadman Switch, and then Tor Fun with Marksmanship and Burnout Thrusters. I know if you're not familiar with Burnout Thrusters, what it does, it allows you to be able to use a slam action on those ships, and then after you complete that slam maneuver, you can take a deplete token to remove the weapons disabled token that you received at slam. So this can actually be quite an aggressive list here, with both Sarisu and Torfun being able to get in quick and start shooting immediately as they need to for it. I do like having Lima Kai being able to kind of be that control piece with the Mac Pulse and Ion Cannon turret, and Pattern Analyzer to help it open up that Heart 3 and the 4K for Lima to still get those that ability off pretty good. And yeah, it's pretty nice.
So I think the one change I would definitely make here, which I do like the burnout thrusters idea. I actually do kind of like that, getting those ships in there quickly. Um, so I think we're gonna leave those alone and say that's a neat gimmick we should look at trying. Um, I only wonder if you're to put however you say that.
Tupusk.
Um,
Yeah.
Tupusk is going to get left behind if you're not careful, which I guess is okay because then you can he can still obviously it's a coordinating ship, which is kind of crazy. I didn't know it had 10 loadout, right? And
Hmm.
now the question I have is, do you run Kanan? Because Kanan has 10 loadout with Grief and Dead Man Switch and Elusive in the same way, and now you've got a Kanan Force on top of that, or does Tupusk ability outweigh that for this list, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, the being I5 and being able to coordinate at I5 is really good,
Okay.
specifically with Dirge. I think there's some good validity in that particular interaction there. And Dirge can basically just go in, take his focus action, and then you can to post coordinate a barrel roll or boost after you've seen all the I4s move. I think there's definitely some benefit in that. But Kanan being able to help keep one of your important ships alive, along with Sirisu being able to give that extra reroll to that ship, that's a really really good defensive build there as well. But there's validity in both sides.
All right. Yeah,
All right,
yeah, yeah. Now we
now
can move on
the
to
next
yours.
Yeah, the next one here, I went a little bit crazy here. So I'm really excited by Dr. Afra. I really enjoyed this one here. So this first one here is an extended list that I made for this one here. Just trying to really take advantage of the stress mechanic that Dr. Afra has here. So I have equipped here Dr. Afra and the YB666 with Lots Razi, 000, BT1 Gunner, Contraband Cybernetics, Babu Frick, and Tactical Scrambler to round off her list. Then we have a Sasha of Interest with Malice, Fearless, Maul, and Contraband Cybernetics. And then we have Han Solo with Trick Shots, Lando Calrissian Crew, Perceptive Copilot, Greedo, Engine Upgrade, and the Lando Millennium Falcon title. So we got three big bases here that can do a lot of work here. Dr. Afra being able to give off that stress through 000 interaction and being able to give out that stress or get a calculate is really really good. If they decide to give the calculate over, Asajj Ventress can use the ability to remove their token or give them a stress. In either way, they don't want to do that. If they decide to remove their token, they can later get stressed by Dr. Afra and then get BT'd one that crit later on. Han Solo, if anybody around these ships is stressed, he's going to get that extra die through the title, and then being able to use Greedo to punch in crits and use Lando in conjunction with Perceptive Copilot to get those extra rerolls at Initiative 6 can do a lot of damage there. And then finally, Las Rossi, a key piece for this to keep Dr. Afra alive, being able to add innovate results by spending your opponent's stress is really, really good and is a really good add-on for Dr. Afra there. What are your thoughts on this one?
So I think it's crazy that you had that it's a 3-ship all large base list. I like it. I think, I think the standard build for Han Solo, right, is somewhat something of this version, you know. I build my Han Solo a little bit different, but we'll get to that in a minute because I have a weird little nichey thing for Han Solo that I like. I do really like it. I think the Lazrazi, especially in this list, is mandatory, right? I think you're right. I think it has to become mandatory. Um, the sad thing is with Babu, it only lasts a couple of turns, right? And then you take all of that. And I don't know if that would be bad or not. But I do like running in there, getting all the face. The only thing it's missing is some sort of a coordinator, maybe named Hondo, who can coordinate you a boost as a large base ship.
Yeah, the boost with the hard 3
Ugh.
on a YV is pretty
Mhm.
gross. Yeah.
It's disgusting. We played with it. But other than that, I think it's a pretty solid list. Like I said, my Lando or my Han build is a little bit different. But it does make sense giving them the engine upgrade, though it's very tempting to take that engine grade off of there and put and put an illicit on there of some sort. Um Either FTC or some sort of, contraband. I don't know. Like that's a tough one not to want to do, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now, the second Afro list I have here, this one is a standard legal list, and I did take this Dr. Afro builds from Charlie Tecumseh, who I had a game with last night, and he played this version of Dr. Afro, which was really, really good. So similar Han build and Han builds for this list. Dr. Afro is built a little bit different. We have Jabba the Hutt crew with BT1 Gunner, over 2 modulators, and Babu Frick with Houndstooth title. Then Koshka Frost in the Fire Spray with Composure, 000, Seismic Charges, Rick Cargo Shoot, the Marauder title, and Veteran Tail Gunner. And then the Nashta Pup to go along with Dr. Afra there. So, so this one here, I got to play against this at Dr. Afra. It was a different list, but I actually liked this build a lot here. This particular Dr. Afra just being able to have those over 2 modulators constantly regenerated by Jabba the Hutt, and then Babu Frick being able to take away the strain as needed with, or sorry, not strain, the stress from doing the stops there. Gives it a lot of um, uh yeah, a lot of stuff. Being able to hold on to those stresses, really good. I like that particular aspect of it. And I went a little bit different with Kashka Frost on this one here. So normally, as in my other build, I have Dr. Afro with 000. I actually shifted it over to Kashka, so that way the rerolls that can be used is a little more, can be used for Kashka's ability to trigger a lot. Red Cargo Shoot, something that I've used a lot with our Emon build, and then Sykesman charges as well, just being able to get that strain on there. I didn't have quite enough loadout to have Notorious, but I added Composure in there in case you wanted to boost Akasha and it doesn't quite make it. You can at least get that focus on there. And then the Nash Pup with Dr. Afra, in case she dies early, you can just eject her into that Z95 and still have those charges to still do those same abilities on there. Really fun. I definitely want to try this on there, but yeah.
Yeah, I like the I like the Nash the Pup add-on. It's like, hey, if you go after Dr. Afra, it's not getting rid of her ability. It comes along. Not for very long, but it does come along.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you being called out in the chat, JJ, saying you were not supposed to share this list.
Oh, my bad, man. I didn't want to share the entirety of your list, but I got to give you props for Dr. Afra. It is fantastic. I liked it a lot.
For a bottle of whiskey, we'll edit that piece out, and it'll only live on Twitch for 10 days.
Yeah.
All right. The next list comes from Greg Cash Money, the commish, with a fuck you. God. All right. It's a Hondo with Fenrau, Contraband, Delayed Fuses, VTG, Marauder, Proton Bombs, and FTC. Pretty good. Torkel Mux with L337, which is an interesting choice there. Probably so that you could just bank away. And then
well, I think you use it defensively. It's a get out of jail free card when your opponent rolls all natties, and then just make them roll it. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's actually good. I forgot about that. Thermal detonators and delayed fuses. Then we have Torfrun with thread tracers and fearless, giving everybody locks. And then Manaru with Notorious, Jamming Beam, Dengar, Punishing One, FTC, and Targeting Computer.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Notorious Manaru is definitely a menace at Initiative 3, and it's really good here. I definitely like having Hondo with Fenrau just being able to like clear those stresses on everybody else on there. Torfun. Now, Greg, I am curious on your build for Torfun. Now, me personally, I would have considered putting like Beskar plating on him and like composure or something. But this is more of an aggressive build for Torfun. I like it a lot. I was wondering if you had considered maybe a different loadout for it, or if you're just using the tracers for the second shot in the event that you do kill a ship with Torfun.
Yeah, because Fearless only works on primary attacks, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I think you put Clan Training there instead.
Clan
Training, if you're going to keep the thread tracers, I think you put Clan Training on there. And I think the Clan Training allows for you to essentially have a double modded shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it. I think it's cool. I think it would be something to put on the table. I think thread tracers have not been used in a while. And I do kind of wonder, especially with Torfrun, because you have the ability for both, and half the time you're just going to die anyway, you will at least hopefully be able to get one lock off for every one of the ships, and at least once. And that just makes Manaru and Hondo hit so much harder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're able to get that Torfun as your first shot in the Solist, because he does initiative match with Manaru, if you do get those thread tracers off, you basically open up that the entire list to be able to have that extra really good double modded shot. So yeah.
So I like it. The next one is my Dr. Ephra build, which is similar to Sherman's build. I believe my idea was for the Jabba to go after um, Baba and still be able to do the stops and just plant yourself. You pop your over 2 modulators whenever you have to. You then can turn around and use that on Babu Frank to keep it so that he doesn't ever come over, and you can essentially just take his stresses, throw it on him for 4 turns, and you can literally just collect objective points. But on the opposite side, it would also give you the ability with Hondo, because Hondo is going to come in with those FTCs, and you can recharge FTC, I'm pretty sure. So it does give you the option, if you don't need it for Babu for a turn, you can recharge your FTC on Hondo. Gamut, I have Protector at Glebon. I forgot about Grief. I think you will have to be switching to Grief on that one. Excuse me, on that one. As well. Though I do wonder in this list if you have to have Gamut. But if you think about it, with Gamut and Hondo coordinating, you can essentially have 2 fully modded ships. My Hondo has Lando Calrissian on him, so that you can use your calculate to re-roll on defense or offense. Proton bombs, FTC, Deadman, Tactical Scrambler, and VTG with Marauder. So you essentially take Hondo, ram him in there, bring your Dr. Aphra behind him so that she's kind of sitting back towards the middle, and then Hondo can split off in either which way. And then Gamut Key will just float on one of the other sides and provide coordinates for it. And then Torfront is just a heavy hitter that says, "Hey, if I die, I die." I guess, like
Yeah.
he's my objective getter. And I personally put Mando optics. That's just me though. Clan training would be fine too. Or if you want some sort of a missile on them, you probably could do that.
Yeah, definitely. I do like the Mando optics for Tor Fun, just being able to set up that potential double modded shot into a good target is definitely nice.
Yeah, and I want to treat Torfun like Grievous. That's kind of how I see Torfun running, like a Grievous that's going to die right away. But I see that's kind of how I see Torfront is being on the opposite side and say, either you can come get me, or I'm going to kind of come in around and try to blow you out of the water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I thought I had one more list here.
No, I think it was a copy of the first one there. So.
No, it wasn't. I have another one. I have a Han list that you must not have put in there.
I must have missed it there.
All right, you're killing me here. Hold on. I'm going to load my Han list up. Because my Han list is a silly gauntlet. Yeah. Sorry, Deslin. I got very into Scum. I'm not running Scum in any tournaments. Like, I can't run Scum. In JJ's team, I can't run Scum, but we've been, oh, maybe I don't have another one. Where the hell is my Han one? All right, we're just going to move on.
Yeah.
And we're going to go on to FO, and when I come back to it, I'll add it to the doc.
Yep. So the next one here is from Brendan Edwards from Team Endgame. Yeah, let's go. So we got an Agent Tyranny list here. So we have Agent Tyranny in the First Order in the C-Class shuttle with Proud Tradition, Fanatical, Captain Phasma, and Agent Terex. Lieutenant Gaelic with Proud Tradition, Biohex Crypt Codes, and Tractor Beam. We have Commander Malaris in the FO Fighter as well, with Cluster Missiles, Scorch with Predator, Fanatical, and Advanced Optics, DT-798 with Fanatical and Optics, and then Lin Gava with Fanatical, Elusive, and Optics to round off that list. So we have 5 TIE FO Fighters for Agent Tyranny in this list here. Definitely has some good firepower to put out between a lot of these FOs being able to shoot mostly 3 die shots, and then Lieutenant Gaelic being able to coordinate even from long distance with Biohex crypt codes. I like this list a lot, especially if you're able to get Gaelic to do the tractor beam early to get him into the arc of your lower initiative or same initiative TIE FOs. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is what a lot of people were scared of with Tyranny. Though I think I'm not. I'll be honest with you. As I said at the beginning, Tyranny has to try very hard. Really does.
Yes.
Um. So I think a lot of people are very scared. I personally would drop the Captain Phasma on here, and I would not go with Captain Phasma myself. Um. But I do understand the ability to want to handle it because Captain Phasma, if I'm correct, is range 1, right?
0 to 1, yes.
0 to 1, yeah. So that means you're taking your Tyranny and shoving it into lists, and what's going to happen is people are going to kill it. So you're going to lose your broken trust piece. So I would not run that. I would run Hondo, or I would run Tac Officer, and then that gives you 2 points to put somewhere else, wherever else you want. Which I think maybe a trick shot could be a possibly decent piece there. Um, you're not saying that that's the best use of it, but you get 2 more points back. Oh no, you don't get 2 points back with Honda. Oh yes, you do. You do with Tac Officer though.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of do agree. Although I believe I put Phasma in my version as well. I think that going down to attack officer also opens up points to put biohic script codes as well on Agent Tyranny,
Yep.
so that way you're able to coordinate as well from long range. Although once Agent Terex flips, you're kind of focused on sending out that calculate or jam long range as well. But at least you have options, right? Just depending on what comes up. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely good.
Yep. Other than that, I do like it. I do like the Gaelic tractor beam. I think that that's going to be a sneaky little thing that people are going to
Yeah,
hate. Um, but I do think that that's probably the biggest benefit to this list because it allows every other one of your ships to hit a little bit
yeah,
harder. So
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, totally agree.
so yeah, so I personally really like this list. I think the tyranny aspect is not going to be as powerful as we think it is, but I guess we'll see. It is an I3 too, so it still can be initiative killed easier.
Yeah.
So
And then my list is very similar to Brendan's. The only difference is that I took out Lingava and Gaelic in favor for Kylo Ren and the TIE Whisper. Built out very similar to the Crispy build, Instinctive Beam, Shattering Shot, Predator, Concussion Missiles, Optics, and Munitions Failsafe. Kind of gives that ace piece to this particular list here, while the rest of the list can pretty much run in front of Tyranny to kind of mow down whatever comes up in front. Kylo just being that flanker can do a lot of things on the side there. But yeah, it's pretty. I think this list definitely has legs and can do a lot of work.
I like it. All right. My resistance list, which we have been playing around a little bit with, and we're going to talk about Doza once I get through the list, JJ, because I think there's some interesting choices that we can make with Doza here. I chose Doza, which is your mini fire spray list. Ship to essentially have pattern analyzer, cluster missiles, warheads, which after playing with this on Friday, I do not think pattern analyzer is needed at all. I don't see the point in using it. But stuff Doza. Jeez, Greg. All right. I think that 5 points needs to be reutilized, and we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna come back to Doza because I think that's like the optimal build for her. I don't think should include barrage rockets, but we'll see. Then if you go down to Zay, I have marksmanship, the R6D8, and heroic, which again you could change a little bit of that out. You probably do not need to have to run the heroic that droid. I just think that droid is so cool. And that gives that ship a little bit more firepower, let's say, in what it wants to do. But again, not 100% sold that that's the exact build to run for it. The other option you could have is to put pattern analyzer on instead of the droid and marksmanship and still keep your heroic. I think that's the other possibility. Tally has no upgrades, so that's my bad. Tally, I have two builds for Tally, one with ion torpedoes and one with like a trick shot heroic or trick shot and plasma, which puts you at 11. You lose your heroic, but then you can have marksmanship if you would like, right?
Yeah.
I think trick shot is the key on Tally, even though a torpedo would be nice, but the ion torpedoes I think are just going to be so key in killing locks at an I5. It's just so good. You kill locks at an I5 and that's just like, here you go. Then I have Lega in the Y-Wing to give a little bit of variability, but essentially to go, how many missiles can I shoot with automatic targeting priority, ion cannon, cluster missiles, L4RER5, which is, I don't know how, whatever the nickname is,
Layers.
layers, targeting computer, and Teflon belly rub because it's free and I want to see people use it, damn it. I just want to see people use it. So
Yeah.
essentially, this gives you the fact that you get your free calculate there for it. And then I have Jaeger with the Mag Pulse Warheads, Kansas Fireball, Heroic, and Overtune Modulators, essentially to allow for Jaeger to be able to also break locks if Lega's not around.
Yeah. Definitely like it. I like it feels like a good resistance salad list. You got a lot of different options there to do, fulfill different roles in there. So going back to Benisa Doza, I feel that you're right. Pattern analyzer probably can go away and you can add different options there. My thought is adding an R3 astromech for Benisa, so that way she can have two target locks, and that way you can kind of pick and choose who you want to shoot out the rear with the missiles, and that would leave you one point left over to either do munitions failsafe in case you have a bad roll, or you can do like composure on Benisa in case you do like a boost or a barrel roll and doesn't quite fit, and can at least give you a focus that way. For Zay, there are different loadouts I was considering for her. I was considering the M9G8 for it. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of different options for Zay to do it. In this list, do you see her to be more of an objective grabber or more of an offensive piece?
To me, she's a points tank, and she probably should be more of an objective getter in this one. Because you're gonna have Jaeger and the Fireball, which will be objective getting, and then that's really it. Your Y-Wing can also be objective getting, I think, too. But and yes, I went with Jaeger specifically over Finn. Fuck Finn. Um, I'm not running
Hey,
competitive resistance, so
I5 Jaeger is something that we should see more in the resistance, but we don't.
yeah. And it's just because Finn's too good. I think Finn should lose his crew slot immediately, and that just fixes Finn. You know. Um, So I think you're right. I think with Zay, it's probably a little bit more objective getter, defensive person. I think that's what you would do with it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, Deslin, Finn just needs to go away. Like, I'm just making a statement. Finn can just go away.
So the next resistance list is one that I've made here. Now I did
Oh my
actually
god.
uh, two Falcons in this build here. So the first one is Poe Dameron in the YT 1300. Have him equipped with heroic trick shot C3PO crew and Ray Gunner. And then we have Lando Calrissian with Heroic, Corsella, Finn Gunner, Contraband Cybernetics, and the Falcon title. Then we have Jarek Jaeger with Heroic, M9G8, and Predator. And then BB-8 with ATP and Han Solo crew, providing those evades to BB-8. So I wanted to specifically highlight both of the Falcons, which I think can actually be pretty good in this list. Being able to shoot at high initiatives and also being able to coordinate at high initiative as well. Poe Dameron definitely gets a lot of help with tokens here, being able to use his ability to boost early and then still be able to take an action with C3PO with like a double calculate. That does help out a lot with Ray as well. That makes him a very effective shooter. Being able to have those mods on offense and pretty much guaranteeing 3 to 4 damage depending on where you're shooting with Poe. Lando Calrissian being able to, on the other hand, be a lot more defensive with Finn, especially if you're going in straight in. Finn being able to add in that blank to hopefully heroic into other mods really helps out Lando there. Corcella being able to help Lando push the red actions or the red maneuvers and being able to clear all that stress with Corcella is really good. Lando being a really good piece there, and it's still a 3-die gun on top of that. And then Yarrick and BB-8 being the objective grabbers and being able to help out the list that way as well.
So did you just choose heroic because you didn't have enough points to put trick shot on there
For who?
for Lando?
For Lando, I put it in there because I have Finn in there. So essentially, since Lando has just one green dice, if you're shooting in front arc, out at Lando's front arc, Finn can add that extra blank. And if you roll the blank with Lando, you can then heroic, helping Lando survive a little bit more from those shots.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's move on to Galactic. We had nobody submit Galactic Republic list, so JJ built one with Sicko. I will be honest, I have had zero time. That's not how I would run Sicko, but I've had zero time to build Republic lists with everything else. So JJ said, hey, let's go crazy and run all the new SOC stuff and Sicko.
So this one here, I gotta admit, I kind of built this on the run. I do want to say that the Siege of Coruscant pack has a lot of great pilots in that pack, and they're all viable pilots to flying standard here. Sicko, if you're not familiar with his ability, he is the more maneuverable lat out of all of them there. So, with keeping that in mind, I wanted him to be that aggressive support piece to kind of get around the formation and still be able to keep its arc pointed so he can provide that the rerolls for the rest of the list on here that will have a lot of mods as well. I specifically kitted it out with Night Owl Commandos. So that way Sicko can get into the mix to deliver those commandos towards the center of the board and then just basically fly around as needed to support the rest of the list. Now, the great part of Sicko's ability and the fire convergence is that it also helps out the Night Owl Commandos. When they do their attacks, they're able to get rerolls from Sicko as well. So that's a nice little added bonus there as well. The rest of the list, I have the Siege Coruscant Jag with Veteran Tail Gunner, R4P Astromech, and Sync Console. And then Wolf with Wolfpack, Veteran Tail Gunner, Q7 Astromech, and then Shock T, which is also the Siege Coruscant version with Marksmanship, Brilliant Innovation, Ancillary Ion Weapons, and R4P. And then Click with R3 Astromech, Precision Ion Engines, and the ESC title to round off that list. So 5 ships, very beefy, and can definitely stay in the brawl for a long time.
All right. I think on mine with Sicko, I would rather see Agile Gunner and Seventh Fleet or Agile Gunner and Seventh Fleet Gunner or Satine possibly. And then do Satine with Sync Council and Dedicated. I don't like, I really have a hard time with this 12 loadout. Like
12-point loadout,
really,
yeah.
like
It's limiting.
16 is
Yeah.
fine. This
Yeah,
12 is really hard.
The other loadout I was considering for Sicko was Corky Kreese and C3PO,
Yeah.
and then Dedicated, because it relies on having enemies or ships in your front arc, or in your front half rather. And Sicko will be pretty easy to get that done regularly. So I thought those would be viable options, but I wanted it to be more of an aggressive build with the Night Owl Commandos, and then of course Mag Pulse missile warheads. This is keeping Agent Tyranny in mind. Just wanted to make sure that when he does engage, that if it does it gets that crit through, and I'm being able to get rid of that condition. That's pretty much the only reason why I have Mag Pulse on Sicko.
Yeah. Which makes sense. I mean, because he's an I2, right? So you just have to make sure Sicko has somebody in the front arc that's an enemy ship that's being shot at. So it does make sense. And I think, again, I don't like teching to one effing ship. And I think I think people will change their minds a little bit once we see it on the
Yeah.
board. But
I mean, it's also great in salvage. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, there's
it
that
is good in
Venn
salvage, yeah.
diagram of tyranny and salvage, like right there.
All right. So let's move on to CIS. So I will apologize in advance. This is a CIS podcast now. We officially have been taken over by the Confederacy. So I don't know what to tell you. Separatists, we got a lot of separatist submissions, and then I run separatists, so it's probably more lists than we even had for scum. Though I still want to put my scum in there. I don't know if we're gonna have time to go through my scum list, but so this is a Tri-Fighter Nantex Scourge build without Grievous. No Grievous. 50% CIS, 50% Andor. All right, that's fair. That's fair, Deslet. So if you're watching this in postpartum, Charles, or if one of you are watching this and wants to start tagging Charles in the Discord and tell him to come back sooner than later, he can help balance us out a little bit more. Because JJ also flies CIS. So
True.
like there is some of that like problem. Anyway, let's go through this list. I like this list. And let's have a conversation. Valen DOS and an I5 with notorious overtune modulators, cluster missiles, two phallic SOC tri-fighters with afterburners, the Evasion 7 sequence and contingency protocol. Then Brewer Kret with trick shot, crack shot, Dirge with procket cannons. There you go. I'm calling proc cannons. And marksmanship, Xenu Blood, and General Grievous. So 5-ship list, 3 glass cannons, definitely 3 glass cannons, and 1 medium glass cannon, and then Dirge. But I will tell you, do not take Dirge and give him no tokens and put him in front of 3 ships. He will not live. And by the way, so I got shot with 10 shots. I dove him in there. I had ion bombs, threw an ion cannon. Ion cannon didn't do shit. So I was like, all right, ion bombs are going to be next. No big deal. And then here comes 3 ships, all shooting 3 to 4 dice into him. 10 hits, not 10 wines. 10 hits. I've only had 1 glass of wine, JJ. Thank you. 10 hits and I don't know, like 2 evades. So I ended up with 7 or 8 cards on them, right? And turn 1. Like this is not turn 1, but the first engagement.
First engagement, yeah.
So they're all face down. So all of them get to be flipped up. Every single one of them. You throw your charge. You go, I'm going to get one of these. He's going to live. He's going to live. I turn them all up. 0 direct hits and 0 pilot crits. 0. None. And I go, I've lost this game. I ended up winning the game, but it was very close after that. Yeah. So.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I gotta say, this was definitely a really, really interesting list here, mainly for Brewer Kret. Now, if you're not familiar with what this pilot does, essentially, if you manage to hit your opponent after you attack, your ships that have a calculate on their action bar can perform a red calculate action on this. So this basically opens up the droid tri fighters to focus everything on outmaneuvering your opponent at initiative 5, and then getting that red calculate after Burrower sinks a shot in, and getting that extra mod for offense on there. Really, really good. And then all in death, just being able to outmaneuver opponents pretty regularly. Having Overtune and Notorious on this ship makes it really, really interesting. I like it a lot. And Dirge, just being able to get in and use that proton cannon for a big shot there at initiative 4. Pretty good, pretty good. I like it a lot.
All right. The next CIS list we have, I don't know who made this list.
It's
So
Qual as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Qual as well. So we have Valandas again, same Valandas. I will say, all right, so I'm going to say the one thing I would change out is those cluster missiles, I think. I don't know if I would run cluster missiles on Valandas.
What
I
would
don't
you
know.
consider?
I don't know. That's hard because you got 8 points wrapped up into Notorious, essentially. I don't know. Maybe you do run cluster missiles. I guess it's a double tap. It does give you that double tap function. I just worry
Yeah.
about him dying. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, I think I would probably consider more the shield upgrade to help him live a little bit longer, and elusive if you're planning to try to like do red maneuvers. I will make him a lot more defensive in that way. But I don't know what I would do with the extra 2 points. Maybe a deadband switch just in case. So
Yeah. Yeah, I like the Notorious on them. I really think as it makes you think about it.
yeah,
I think the problem becomes with those, and maybe you put mag pulse. Maybe that's what you do, right? Maybe you switch that up to mag pulse because then because it's an I5. So I don't like the missile options because you get the same amount of dice. And yes, the clusters make sense because it's double shots. You got the overtune, you pop when you get to do it because you know you're going to be engaging. Um, I don't know. I almost consider trick shot personally with Valandas, and shield upgrade. That's kind of probably where I would go with it for to begin with. Because you can't run collision detector, can you? Can you run collision
you
detector?
could. Actually,
Yeah,
no. I'm
you
sorry.
could.
No, you can't. You don't have the
Yeah,
sensor slot. So yeah, no, you can't.
yeah. So they didn't give them a damn sensor slot like they
Yeah.
did the other ones. Anyway, all right. So then we have the similar Valandas. We have Pre-Vizsla with clan training, Ursa Wren, Gunner, General Grievous, Tax Scrambler, Probe Droids. Then we have SOC DBS 32 with plasma torpedoes and the strut locks and the contingency protocol. Then we have 3 holdouts, all with energy shells, all with treacherous, and with munitions failsafe. So they lose their network calculates, right? But you do have the barrel roll to a focus. You could take your calculate to be able to shoot your energy shells, and you have treacherous to help you live. I think that's actually a pretty decent build. You're giving essentially if one of them dies and they stay together, and one of them dies, one of those other ones is like triple modded. If you
Yep.
think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just think about that piece of it. Allows it to be triple modded. And this is saying essentially we don't care about discords. I like the DBS 32 in there as well. Because I think that DBS 32, that's the one that allows you to jam, if I remember right. Go in there.
Jam. Yeah.
Yep, to spend a calculate to a jam. I do think he would be better with some sort of a TAC relay that allows him to retain his calculate and go in there. But I do like the weird. I ran 404 this weekend at the 3 points, and I'll tell you what, it's people hate it. People want to kill it. So
yeah. I do agree that the list would benefit from having a tech droid to help keep those calculates on there. This version of DBS32C can't run it just because it's a standardized pilot on there. But yeah, that would definitely help out this list here. I think that having the pinata droid would also help this out as well, because you can pass on. You can, if one of the vultures dies, they would get a calculate, and then the one that died would pass on all their tokens to the rest of the other things, so you get even more tokens that way. I do like the aggressiveness with the energy shell charges on here. I feel like this version of the vultures is definitely a little more aggressive in being the blocker type of vultures, because they don't have struts, right? So being able to get in to take the block, if they get shot from any other ship other than the ship that they blocked, they can use treacherous to pass on that damage to that ship that's in the firing arc that's obstructing it, and be able to get damage passively that way to the enemy ships. And then if they still live, they can still have that energy shell charge to shoot out. I definitely like this pre-Vizsla loadout. I'm personally a fan of having Vizsla with the commandos, but having the probe droids to get target locks available for the vultures is also a very good way to go in there. Clan training to get that red focus when you're taking a reinforce, and having the range zero mod with Ursa Ren is always great, and having tactical scrambler to again just provide that extra green dice for the rest of your list when they're shooting through pre-Vizsla. Excellent list. I like this a lot.
Yeah, I think the tac droid doesn't fit in this list right here in this version. And I would actually rather see this version. I would again, I would change Volandas up a little bit. And this time you're running very small rocks or gas clouds or something different. Um,
Mhm.
you know, you still don't want to run gas clouds, but I do like this list quite a bit. And I agree with you. Normally we'd say super commandos, but I think this pre-Vizsla is going in there to say, hey, we're going to have droids on one side, pre-Vizsla on the other side. We're going to kind of do a pincer movement towards whichever place you put the majority of your ships. Pick who you're going to shoot at. Because I'm telling
Yeah.
you, if you shoot at these ones, these stupid I2s that are coming at you, they're going to block you up. You're going to shoot them. They're going to transfer all their damn blocks and everything. And you're going to have a double modded, God, can you imagine a double modded energy shell? Like, oh, here's hit, blank, crit, reroll into a focus, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It just could be so dirty with that. And I like this pre-Vizsla because that Ursa Ren we don't see a lot. And I think with the Ursa Ren, it's a little bit spicy because you're tempting them. Will you kill one of my damn ships? Please kill my ship for me. And make it so that I can then go back and kill one of your ships and trigger my ability. So I
Yeah.
like it. Last Resort had a list that they submitted as well. JJ, you want to run this one down?
Yep. So we got Dirge here in the Rogue class starfighter with Predator, Proton Cannon, Xanadu Blood, and General Grievous. Volendals with Notorious Cluster Missiles and Overtuned, and then 3 Fearsome Predators with Predator, Fire Control System, Discord Missiles, and Shield upgrades, as well as Independent Calculation. Really solid list on this one here, just having four tri fighters that can do a lot of work, especially with those Discord missiles on there. I definitely like this on here. The proton cannon just giving Dirge that extra oomph to hit something really really hard, and you got 5 ships here that can do a lot of repositioning and have a lot of attack. It's really good.
Yep. Again, I think the Volandas I would change, but I like seeing lists with 4 tri-fighters in it. So notice the 2 things we haven't seen is Django and Grievous, or at least Grievous ship.
Yeah, I think if you're not running Grievous in your list, which I actually probably would have dropped one of the Fearsome Predators for. Actually, no, he's 5 claws, so never mind.
You can't. Yeah, it changes everything.
It does change everything. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, having Grievous crew on Dirge, just giving him that extra survivability, is really good. It's basically a regenerating hull upgrade for Dirge. It's really great.
Yeah, I like it. I think Grievous on Dirge is actually a really good call. Which is funny. We get why they gave him the title and not the other Dirge is beyond me. But I'm not AMG. I do really like these for some Predator builds, and I still think they don't live very long. But I mean,
They're very
again, they're 3 agility. So if minus the inconsistency of agility dice, these things could live and do. I mean, they could just do damage all around.
Yeah.
I think for 4 points, they're trying to treat them like an interceptor is what they're trying to treat them as.
Yeah.
So I guess if you think about it, instead of the boost, you get double calcs. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they are better. So. All right, so here is my first take. Here obviously is my dirge that died. By the way, just so everybody knows, this is the dirge that died. Round 1 or round 2 first engagement. Grievous boilerplate. Though I have been thinking about running trick shot Grievous a little bit more because it opens up a shield upgrade. Or prockets. It opens up rockets.
Yep.
And a shield upgrade. I don't know. Anyway. AMG don't touch my Grievous. But I have been thinking about running trick shot again on him because I think it might still be pretty beneficial. You're not going to get the one less outmaneuver dice, but you're going to always get that extra dice. Even at range 3. I don't know. I like it. It forces them to want to spend their mods, I think, more. And then with that shield upgrade, Grievous just lives a little bit longer. And I don't know if you need the shield upgrade or if you do invest in prockets or something else. I don't know. And then I have Dirge with ion bombs and ion cannon as a neutralizer at the I5. Iron assembler with discords, independence, electronic baffle, and I'll explain that one in a minute. And grappling struts, DFS, 81 discords, separatist drone with discords. The way it went is the discords were not on 81, they were on that other separatist drone, and 81 had energy shells. And then 404 with prockets and all of the fancy garbage. I will say 404 never once got off APTs. 404 did get off a 4-die shot, though, into Doza, but not an APT. So I'm still waiting for that to happen. The Iron Assembler. So the idea with this is you have this gives you the ability, and I didn't do it, but I should have. If your ship, right, you do your maneuvers, right, and you want to be able to do a 1 hard. So let's say you move it off a rock and it's kind of sitting in the way. What happened was my Iron Assembler got in the way of my Grievous. I was too close to the rock to do a 2 hard or a 2 straight and forgot that I had electronic baffle on him and did the 2 hard like through the rock and ended up taking the damage, which he didn't care about next round. Like he didn't care that next round. But with the electronic baffle, you can baffle your stress off. Then you do your 1 hard onto the rock or whatever maneuver you want. Get your double calculates, get your stress back. Now you're sitting back on the rock, and as soon as you as soon as the player phase happens, you get to get rid of your card. It's just gone. Boom, see ya. So I don't know if that's what AMG wanted you to do with it. I really don't know what they really wanted you to do. Like I feel like they want you to take like concussion missiles or something dumb. But I'm telling you, electronic baffle on this stupid little thing is hilarious because you just do a damage to yourself and not care. And it's afterwards. So it's all like, you don't have to do it if you're going to die. You can still do it. It's just crazy. Every game I played with the Iron Assembler, he has not died. Just so you know ahead of time. Nobody shoots at him. They just don't shoot at him.
Would you consider changing Dirge to a ship that can carry a tech droid?
You mean Watt?
Is Watt 4 points? Yeah.
Watt's the only one that's 4 points, but you can only get K2B4 or Kalani.
I think K2B4 is a decent one.
But yes, I would I consider the K2B4? Yes, I probably would. I think that's good. I want Dirge to work, though. Hence why I'm putting him in the list. But yes, I agree with you because you could also run another bomber for that same price if you want. There's a couple of things you can do with that 4 points there. You can run Das Fallen for 4 points as well.
Yeah. That's true.
Actually, I'm gonna throw that in my kit. Too many options, JJ. Too many
I know.
options.
CIS is fun to run, man. It's great.
I think this got put in twice because this looks like
Yeah.
the same list. All right, here is my updated George list that I had. Essentially, what we did is I took out one of the drones, put the iron assembler, same boilerplate. Separatist drone is here. I then decided to say, hey, I'm going to put 32C in here, which you could also put the 401 or the 404 in
The
here,
4-4.
same price. None of these droids are ever sharing calculates. Half the time, you're wanting to do the barrel rolls or the target locks, right? Gives you a little bit more beef. They have to go after it. Then I have, this is my standard Django loadout that I've been running, and the standard Grievous loadout. So essentially dumping the bomber, and this is where we could talk about whether that's viable or not. Is it better to have more offense than those prox mines, or the prox mines just scary enough that they don't want to deal with that either? I don't know.
I mean, the proximity mines is automatic damage, which is usually really, really good. And the fact that you're able to park that ship onto a rock also gives it some good advantages for maneuvers. But you cannot discount the calculate into jam ability that 32C has, which opens up that particular ship that's jammed to get hit by Grievous or by Django Fetch at a higher initiative, and basically help take down that priority target there. If you're able to get a lock off and get plasma torpedoes with 32C, that's an extra, a really nice bonus. But it just depends on how aggressive you want to fly 32C. I think that if you kind of run it behind the vultures, so that way the vultures can possibly trigger the contingency protocol, so that way that it unlocks the plasma torpedoes. That does give it a little more offense, being able to get the torps off at that point. But I think for my preference, I think in this list, I think that the proximity mine bombardment drone might have more consistency than 32C.
Fair enough. The next list that I have, which I guess is the last one, I thought we had a few more separatists, but the last list that I came up with, you didn't want to put any years in there, is a
Yeah,
dual fire spray list with DFS and the iron assembler. So the iron assembler, I did switch this one to energy shells to be a little bit more offensive. Um, I do still think a Discord would be fine in there, but this was my offensive build. DFS 81 with energy shells to basically say, hey, these droids are going to be able to take objectives, hold down the fort, and still shoot you with an energy shell. Then I have Aurora Singh with VTG, FTC, Tactical Scrambler, Thermal Debts, and Notorious to essentially allow her to jump into the mix, not die, hopefully, as often with her native force, and allow her to be able to get double shots. And then Django with Savage, Proxy Mines again, because I ain't got to run Notorious, and Contraband, FTC, and Treacherous, because you want to strain one of those droids because they never roll green dice properly anyway.
yeah, that's pretty good, man. I definitely like the Aura Sing Notorious, just because you can use that ability to, if you have two ships in front of you, you can use Aura Sing to transfer that strain that they get from Notorious onto a different ship, and that could possibly set up a follow up shot from somebody else. The just the viability of this particular list. Those fire sprays just really, really tanky, and having those vultures to take on objectives is really good. I like this list a lot. It's definitely going to be an archetype that I think we're going to see a lot for CIS.
And the question is, do you think it's better than George's old list? That's the big question.
I don't know. I think it would depend on the pilot, on the person playing the lists. George is really, really great with his list. But I think this might be a tough matchup for him.
All right. So now the question is, JJ, I'm going to lay it on you because we've been an hour and 40 minutes already in list building, which we knew was going to happen. I do have all the SOC stuff ready to go, but that's a good half hour. So the question I have for you is, do you want to go for a half hour, or would you like to call it and conclude it here and go into Andor in a few minutes?
I think we should do Andor. Let's do
Okay. So
it. So the last thing I wanted to say, I didn't have time to put in my list here for CIS, but essentially, I think that you have an option now to run 3 tri-fighters with 2 HMP gunships in the Onderon oppressors and have 5 ships that way. I think that that might be another archetype that might make a resurgence here for CIS, since it's a lot of hull and a lot of dice coming in. But yeah, CIS definitely got a very big boon with all these ships here. I think the faction that suffered the most or didn't get enough buffs is the Republic. Um, they really didn't have any pilots that kind of like wowed me. Like I was taking it took me a lot of effort to try to come up with like different builds that would really highlight the new pilots that came out. Like I was looking at Slammer and looking at some of their abilities, or some of their loadouts, and Audigalia as well. But when you start comparing it to like the 4-point cost Arc 170s from the Siege of Coruscant, they just feel like lackluster just based on what you can get with those standardized loadouts. What are your thoughts on the state?
especially because they can pass locks between each other, which is
Yeah,
so dirt. I hate that. I hate that so much. Oh my god. I played against that and I wanted to throw the table over. That's how pissed I was. But yes, I think you're right. I didn't I think Sicko had I think there's some availability in Sicko. I really do. Sean will disagree with me. He thinks it should always be Hawk, but I do think that there is some viability in Sicko to kind of come back. And I think if we see Tyranny become a like bigger than what she's supposed to be, I think what we'll see is they might bump some of the loadout on those lats back up to allow for other options. Let's say for the lat that doesn't just kill it. But I again, unless you're gonna take Aliagata for 5 points with CLT, like unless you want that, like you could take Obi. It's the same thing as Obi, and like you're probably not running 2 of those ships for 10 points in your list. You're probably just not doing it. Um, I would like to see a 4-ship Jedi list be really successful. I just don't think it's going to. I don't think AMG is going to let that happen or has allowed for that to happen. Um, and with no 2-point options, it's kind of hard to run 10 points of Jedi. You could then run the two, the two SOC arcs, and then you got 2 points of dead space because they don't have a 2-point ship. You know, uh, I don't know. I think that if they had given us Slammer at 2 points, which I think they probably should have, low loadout, keep Slammer with low loadout, 2 points. He's an I1. I think I could see a 2 Jedi, 2 Arc, and Slammer, and that could do decently well, but everything just gets overshadowed, I think. And I think that's the bigger issue with that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I have one more scum list. We're gonna go through my last scum list since
Oh, the
we have a
Han
few
list.
minutes.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
So this is my silly list that like I feel, and if you're watching this, Zach, this is the silly list that I'll send you later. So I have Han Solo with Trick Shot, Jabba the Hutt, Rig Cargo Chute, Greedo, and Lando's Millennium Falcon. We're gonna get to this in a second. Why? I need 3 more points on here is what I really need. So I can have my engine upgrade. But I have Sarisu with Trick Shot, Elusive, and Ion Cannon. Then we have Hondo with the Child, Seismix, Contraband, Dead Man Switch, VTG, and Gamut Key with Protectorate Gleb, which again you can switch to Keef because that's just what you're going to probably have to do, and Elusive. So, this list, the idea behind this list is Han Solo is dropping a rig cargo chute and then maneuvering and then recharging it with Jabba the Hutt. And you have Hondo coming around going through all these different things, right? Got the contraband on there in case he needs it, dropping seismics, using the child to be defensive, and then shooting out the front and the back. If Hondo had a talent slot, I would immediately put Trick Shot on him in this list. Then you have Gamut doing the coordination to help Han have double mods. And then you have Sarisu just kind of like floating around in the background saying, I could stay with everybody and help them live, or I could just live on my own. I've got Trick Shot and I've got an ion cannon. So I'm going to be using all these other stupid obstacles that are being put out there. You can literally drop 5 rig cargo chutes in a game with Jabba and rig cargo chute. You can 100% do it. Like, that is almost the full game of Han Solo taking every action to drop.
So I think you didn't make it abusive enough. I think that you need to drop Deadman Switch and change Contraband Cybernetics to Rig Cargo Chute as well. So that way you can Hondo at Initiative 1, the Rig Cargo Chute to Han, because it's on Hondo's action bar, and then drop it yourself.
Oh my God. All right.
There you go.
All right. I got it. That's fine. I like that too. Oh, you're killing me.
Yeah, man.
You could play with it, moving the child to something else too, if you really wanted to, right?
Yeah.
I like the child on there just because it really makes Hondo defensive in this build, because you really want Hondo to be aggressive. But I do agree with you. I do think that if you put the rig cargo chute on there, oh my God, that's just that'd be so good. Dirty. Now, if only I could fit Eamon. Oh, I guess could you get rid of Sarisu and Gamut and put Eamon in there? Is that what you do?
Yes, you
is that what you do? Yep. Oh my God.
2 fire sprays in Han? Yes, sir.
Maybe that's what you do. Oh, oh my God. And then you can put rig cargo chute on Eamon.
Yep.
As well. And size. Oh my God. And size mixed with Eamon. Oh, all right. All right. So that's.
And you can put Notorious so he can take advantage of the strain.
Oh my God. All right. All right. All right. I think like I was told the rule in Scum is Gamut goes in everything, but now with Hondo, maybe we don't need Gamut as much, because this is a dual coordinating list, essentially, if you think about it. So now that you mention that, though, I do wonder if it would be better to put Eamon in here. I just like Sarisu so much.
Yeah, that it's definitely a really good offensive or defensive piece. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to not want 4 ships. But I do wonder if you put Eamon in here, if it would be, at least for the memes, if it would be good. All right. Now Tanner goes to rebuild that list. All right. That'll be what I get to rebuild tonight before I go to bed. Oh, all right. Well, with that being said, we are going to wrap up. I regret we have not been able to get to. Unfortunately, we are not able to get to. I really wanted to, because we have them. I literally have all of the SOC stuff. Like, I have pictures that I won't tell you where I got them from of all of the other stuff. So there you go. Like, here's a preview. There's the cardboard for the ship. There's the invisible hand. I did look at the cardboard to see if there's any, like, issues here. There's not. I get more buzz droids I don't need. And here's all the cards.
I love Democracy Palpatine.
Markers. Yeah, so good. So good looking. And then here's all the rules. So I guess, you know what, JJ, maybe it'd be better anyway to do it the next week, right? Just because we can then list build for it. Because the list building is different. It's 3 to 8 ships, not the other ship sizes that we had with the other one. And look, I'm going to tell you here, I'm going to get a little preview. Separatist players get 25 points. And Republic players get 20 points.
That is gross. Yeah.
Anyway. So, all right. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight for our discussion on the list building list. We have a community list building section right. Oh, I had one more thing I wanted to do. Sorry. Before we go to break. I had we have a list community building thing. If you want to drop lists in there, we'll probably be covering lists on and off for the next couple of weeks as we see something cool or unique. If you want a list covered, tag JJ or I, or just post in there. And so JJ's responsibility is to watch for it. If there's lists you want covered that you have recommendations on, put the list in there and just put a little blurb about what you like about it. We'll happily cover the list. I got to remember I'm a CIS guy, so uh, everything I think about is my ships are gonna die. And JJ is I'm gonna throw B-wing bombs guy. So the last
Hey,
thing
I'm
I
an
have
equal opportunity faction holder. Okay.
is next week I'm gonna be publishing this future series suggestions. And essentially the idea is what do you want for different options for the show, right? And this is just the free stuff. This is not Patreon only and none of that stuff. This is just what do you want to see us talk about on the show that's different. And I also kind of want to know how do you consume the show, right? Because if you consume I put in here a bunch of different options. If you're an audio only person, great. And again, all it does is help me as we develop the show going into the new year. So we have JJ and I have some ideas for different things we want to change up in the new year, especially with Charles coming back. But I want to know how you consume the content the most. That way, it helps me understand where we are. We're also going to talk about the last Chess Wing series that we developed, and you could kind of give me a rating. Do not feel bad. You could tell us we are shit, unless you're Greg. Greg has to say only nice things about us. Everything else is going to be good. And then essentially what we're going to do is I'm going to put a section in here. What do you want to see? What do you want to do? We're going to make it an open free text option where you can say, hey, this is where these are some of the things we would like to see. I don't want to mirror GSP specifically. We're not going to do a holiday thing because I know GSP is doing that this week or next week. We're not going to do a holiday buying guide. You could just listen to them for that. We're not any more special than they are. And we, I know Ryan Farmer has their special series where they talk about a specific pilot every week. So those are kind of two things that I'm going to ask that we keep off the table. But you guys are welcome to, y'all welcome to make suggestions on whatever you want to see. And again, it literally can be anything related to X-Wing that you want to see can go into this document. And again, I will publish that tomorrow or Tuesday, depending on how long our Andor segment runs tonight. And I will publish that so that way we can get your guys' feedback. And hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have enough responses that we can start announcing which way we're going. With that being said, thank you all. We will be back later this week with more stream games, and especially next week for more Planning Phase Syndicate, 9 p.m. Eastern on Sunday night. Have a good night.
See ya.